is right on time. So I think we've got all board members are present. So I think I'll go ahead and get started. This is the March 23rd meeting of the Board of Waterworks Trustees. And first on our agenda is the consent agenda, which includes minutes from the February 23rd Board of Waterworks Trustees meeting, minutes from the March 2nd Planning Committee meeting, minutes from the March 2nd Customer Relations Committee meeting, and minutes from the March 9th Finance and Audit Committee meeting. There's also financial statements, a list of payments for February 2021, summary of CEO approved expenditures in excess of $20,000, and the establishment of our next meeting date of April 27th, 2021. Is there a motion to approve the agenda, the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Anything to add, Ted or board members?
Nothing to pull out, Graham, unless there are any questions.
All right. Any questions, thoughts, observations? Hearing none, I'll ask to have the vote recorded. Michelle?
Fair.
Yes.
Bolton,
Yes.
Gillette,
Yes.
Hubbard,
Yes.
Moines.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, so that moves us to the next item we have. We set aside a moment or time for public comment. Is there anyone here from the public who wishes to address the board? I'm not seeing anyone. Michelle, you're not seeing anyone?
No one with their hand raised as of yet.
All right.
A couple of public on. If you would like to speak now, use the raise hand feature under the participants tab down on your device.
All right, I'm going to assume there aren't any, but if that changes, let me know and we can make accommodations. Moving into our action items, item 3A is, I have to pull this up, is a request authorization for CEO and general manager to execute amendment to the joint funding agreement with the U.S. Geological Survey for Des Moines River Well Field Evaluation. How's that for a title? Why don't you explain this to us, Ted, and then I'll seek a motion.
Sounds good, Graham. A long title for an important item here on the agenda today. The board will recall that we entered into an agreement with USGS in December of 2017 to do analysis of the alluvial aquifer along the Des Moines River between basically Hickman Road and I-8035. We were asking USGS to develop a groundwater model that we could use to help us identify appropriate locations for future radio collector well sites. At the time, we were interested in developing radial collector wells along the Des Moines River alluvial to provide us with some higher quality source water to limit our reliance on direct surface water. Since then, and to some extent in response to some of the updates we've heard recently about the long range plan, we think it's prudent to ask the USGS to expand the scope of that study a little bit, to expand the study area north to Saylorville Reservoir, so that we'd essentially have a groundwater model of the entire area from Hickman Road in Des Moines up to Saylorville Reservoir that would allow us to site wells not only for the water quality considerations that we've talked about in the past, but also prepare us to site wells for expanding Saylorville treatment plant or adding future capacity as we see that it's necessary. So that's the purpose here, is to get that scope expanded while USGS is there working, get us a larger groundwater model that we think will be valuable. So we would ask the board to approve that amendment and expansion. Graham, you're muted.
There we go. So I'm seeking a motion to authorize the CEO and general manager to execute amendment to the joint funding agreement number 18EMNE 134 in the amount of $140,000. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
And is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments on item 3A? Hearing none. Michelle, could you record the vote, please?
Ashburn,
Yes.
Bolton,
Yes.
Gillette,
Yes.
Hubbard,
Yes.
Moines.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Item 3B is request for authorization to solicit bids for the 2021 Des Moines Water Main Replacement Contract 2, feeder main at Southeast 15th Street and Martin Luther King Jr. Parkway, and establish the date of the public hearing as the date of the April 2021 board meeting. Ted, you want to tee this up?
Yeah, absolutely, Graham. This is a project that we've been working on for some time. This site is the location of the proposed transload facility where rail cars will be offloaded into trucks. It's been a project that's been in development for a long time. We worked with the developer pretty closely because we do have a fairly significant transmission line that runs right up the old right-of-way of Southeast 15th Street. We directed them to install their drives and their facilities and whatnot over an existing casing that used to pass underneath a set of railroad tracks there, thinking that would provide protection for the water main and allow construction of their project, and it would be everything would be fine. Unfortunately, we have recently worked with the developer to inspect the casing pipe that was installed in the 70s when the pipe was installed, and have discovered that the casing pipe is has failed. It's corroded significantly, and not only in the area where they intend to build their facilities, but also the existing and still in service railroad tracks to the north. The casing pipe that's there to protect the feeder main is deteriorated to the point that it needs to be replaced. All of it needs to be replaced. And we can't just replace the casing around the existing pipe, especially under railroad tracks. So actually we're going to relay about 500 feet of that 48-inch pipe adjacent to the existing pipe in new casing, so that it will be protected and continue to provide the surface that it provides to the system. So not a project we were expecting to have to do, but one that we need to do, and we need to do with some urgency because of the schedule for their contract. So we're asking the board's permission to solicit bids for replacing approximately 500 feet of 48-inch water main.
So what I'm seeking is a motion to authorize staff to solicit bids for the 2021 Des Moines Water Replacement Contract 2, feeder main at Southeast 15th Street and Martin Luther King Jr. Parkway project, and establish the date of the public hearing as the date of the April 2021 board meeting, and direct staff to publish notice as provided by law. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
I got a motion, a second. Any comments or questions on this item?
Just a quick question. Don't have to spend too much time here. Just curious. So do the railroad tracks have to come out in any way, or do you just bore a new main underneath without touching the infrastructure?
Great question, Andrea. We will bore a casing pipe underneath the existing railroad tracks, and then we will lay the rest of the casing pipe in an open cut trench. So we'll essentially create the entire casing that we need to protect the water main, and then we will slide the new pipe through that casing after it's installed. But the railroad will not be interrupted. The tracks will not have to be removed to accomplish this install.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Joel?
Ted,
No.
does this protective casing expand beyond this property? And if so, do we know the condition of it, in a farther span?
Yeah, Joel, that's something that we're going to be looking into. This was a very significant project when it was constructed. In our experience, well, one step back. The casing that is deteriorated appears to be a corrugated pipe, almost like a huge culvert pipe. Normally the casing that we will put back in there is smooth wall, steel pipe, very heavy wall. So it's somewhat unusual for corrugated pipe to be used, and it's very unusual for the casing to deteriorate. We're going to need to do some investigation of other casing pipes that were installed at that time on that project. We were not aware. No one currently here anyway was aware that that was a corrugated pipe. We're not aware that there are any others, but we're going to need to do some checking.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions on this item? I don't want to say anything because I'm going to sound like my grandfather, and I'll say something like 500 feet of pipes. It sounds like a lot of money for $1 million, but
It is a lot of money.
nothing my grandfather would have said
Yes.
about anything. All right, so hearing no other questions or comments, Michelle, please record a vote.
Ashburner,
Yes.
Bolton,
Yes.
Gillette,
Yes.
Hubbard,
Yes.
Moines.
Yes.
Okay, so that moves us on to item 3C, and this is a request authorization to reestablish the date of a public hearing for nitrate removal facility crawl space renovation as the date of the April 2021 board meeting. Ted?
The board will recall that last month we brought an item to establish the date of the public hearing for this project as the date of this meeting, anticipating that we would have the plans and specs ready to go. We had an engineer's estimate for the project at that time of just over $600,000. Unfortunately, as the design progressed, we realized that not only is the crawl space in need of some attention, but the floor slab, which is above that crawl space, the actual floor slab in the nitrate removal facility, is also in need of some attention. And so instead of bidding that, adding that to the project and bidding it and having it be over and bringing that to the board, we chose to push pause on the project, expand the scope before it's bid, bring back a revised estimate to the board for the expanded scope, which is $825,000, and bid it for award next month. So that's the path we're on, and we're asking the board to reestablish that public hearing as the date of the April board meeting.
So this is pretty straightforward. We're looking for a motion to authorize staff to reestablish the date of the public hearing for nitrate removal facility crawl space renovation as the date of the April 2021 board meeting. Do I have a motion to that effect?
So
So
moved.
moved. Second.
Okay, great. Any questions or comments on this? I have one, Ted, in that it's somewhat related to this. Andrea and I were in a meeting right before this, and we were talking about construction costs. There's a lot of materials, whether it's wood or steel or other things. Are we concerned about the cost of certain materials in this pinch point that we're in with a lot of pandemic related costs?
An interesting bidding climate, Graham. You'll see on a project here coming up that we had 10 contractors take plans and only one give us a bid. And what we're finding is that the contractors are busy, and everybody has, well, the people who we're interested in working with seem to have work. We haven't gotten specific feedback yet that I'm aware of that specific materials were in short supply or high demand or we're going to be high cost, but we have gotten feedback that there's a lot of work out there this year after the slowdowns last year, and people are going to be busy and bidding accordingly.
Yeah, it's just something we have to keep our eyes on, I guess.
Yeah, prices could be a little high.
Yeah. Any other comments or questions on item 3C, I guess? Hearing none, Michelle, please record the vote.
Ashburner,
Yes.
Bolton,
Yes.
Gillette,
Yes.
Hubbard,
Yes.
Moines.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, so that moves us into item 3D, which is the award of the 2021 Des Moines Water Main Replacement Contract 1, East Pleasant View Drive and East 17th Street. This is a public hearing. And so with that, I'll open the public hearing for comments from the public concerning the project's form of contract, plans, and specifications. Is there anyone here that wants to address this item as a part of the public hearing? Okay. Hearing that, I see Ted, have we received any comments from the public?
We have received no comments, Graham.
All right. So with that, I will close the public hearing. I'm seeking a motion to approve the project's form of contract, plans and specifications and estimated cost. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All right. If there's any comments, now's your time. If not, Michelle, please record the vote.
Ashburner,
Yes.
Bolton,
Yes.
Gillette,
Yes.
Hubbard,
Yes.
Moines.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. And then now, Ted, I'm looking for analysis of the bids.
Yeah, Graham, pretty straightforward analysis here today. This is a typical water main replacement project. 2 streets, one that we're doing in coordination with a city project and one where we had some breaks. We did have 10 prospective bidders take out plans, but received just 1 bid from Synergy Contracting LLC. The low bid was just over $1.8 million. The engineer's estimate was 1.82, almost 1.83 million. We do consider this bid a good responsive bid. Synergy has done a significant amount of work for Des Moines Waterworks in the past and is certainly more than capable of doing the work. And we would recommend that the board award the contract to Synergy.
Okay, so with that analysis, I'm looking for a motion to award the 2021 Des Moines Water Replacement Contract 1, East Pleasant View Drive and East 17th Street, contract to Synergy Contracting LLC in the amount of $1,806,597 and to authorize the chairperson and CEO and general manager to execute the contract. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
And a second? And a second from Andrea. Great, thank you. Any comments or questions on this item?
Quick question, and I'm sure I've asked this question before, but Ted, is there like a list of pre-approved contractors that are eligible to bid for all these, or where are we seeking bids from?
There is not a list of pre-approved contractors. Contractors are certainly able to get on our mailing list or be part of the notification when we have bids of any type, water main or other. We also send the plans, specifications to plan houses. We post notification of bid opening or bid on our website. And basically anyone who feels they are qualified can submit a bid, and then we go through a process of analyzing those bids and confirming qualifications, checking with references, and to make sure that we are awarding the project to a contractor who's capable of being bonded and doing the work.
Sure. Okay, so we're not selecting who we're asking proposals for. Everybody has the same opportunities to apply, for lack of a better way of saying it.
Yeah, that's basically true, Andrea. They have to be able to get bonded, so there'd have to be a bonding company who would be willing to give them a bid bond. That's kind of the minimum bar. And then beyond that, we would do analysis of, if it's somebody we haven't worked with before, we would review references and do that kind of thing and look at other work that they had done and talk to other clients. But basically it's open to contractors who can get bonded for the work.
Okay, thank you. And I know we've talked about this before, but thank you for refreshing my memory.
No problem.
Any other comments or questions on this item? Hearing none, I'll ask Michelle to record the vote.
Ashburner,
Yes.
Bolton,
Yes.
Gillette,
Yes.
Hubbard,
Yes.
Munns.
Yes.
All right, that moves us to item 3E, Mid-American Energy Company electric easement at Nolan Sandpipe and Pump Station. This is also a public hearing, so I will open the public hearing on this item and again see if there are any comments from the public regarding the granting of this easement to Mid-American Energy. I don't think I hear any. Ted, have we received any comments from the public on this item?
We have not received any comments, Graham.
Great. All right. With that, I will close the public hearing. Is there anything that you need to add before I seek a motion here, Ted?
One thing, Graham, I would add that Sue had mentioned at the last meeting that there might be value in letting the neighborhood association know that we are going to allow this pad mounted transformer to be installed on the Nolan property. And we did reach out to Mid-Am. They have contacted the neighborhood association and made them aware that they are in fact installing a number of these units in the neighborhood. And so that base has been touched, FYI.
Nice.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. So now I'm seeking a motion to authorize the chairperson and CEO and general manager to execute the document granting an electric easement to Mid-American Energy Company at Nolan Standpipe Pipe and Pump Station. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further comments or questions on this? Hearing none, I'll ask Michelle to record the vote.
Ashburn,
Yes.
Bolton,
Yes.
Gillette,
Yes.
Hubbard,
Yes.
Munns.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, so this moves me to item 3F, and yes, it's another public hearing, and my computer is frozen here. Here we go. Mid-American Energy Company underground electric easement at Northwest 26th Street Booster Station. Again, this is a public hearing, and I will open the public hearing for comments from the public concerning the granting of this easement. Is there anyone here who wishes to address this item? Hearing none. Ted, have we received any comments from the public?
We have not, Graham.
All right, so I will close the public hearing. And once again, Ted, before I seek a motion, is there anything you'd like to add?
Nothing additional to last month's review. This is an easement that actually is for our purposes, Mid-Am's service to our new pump station.
Excellent. So I'm looking for a motion to authorize the chairperson and CEO and general manager to execute the document granting an underground electric easement to Mid-American Energy Company at the Northwest 26th Street Booster Station. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any other comments or questions on this? Hearing none, Michelle, please record the vote.
Ashburn,
Yes.
Bolton,
Yes.
Gillette,
Yes.
Hubbard,
Yes.
Munns.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, and then, so this moves us to item 3G. This is the legal services request for proposal. This is something we've talked about quite a bit over the last little while. Before I seek the motion to authorize the issuance of an RFP, I'll ask Ted if he has anything to add.
No, Graham, nothing in addition to what we talked about at the committee meeting. The RFP has been prepared as requested for the board and is ready to be issued.
Great, and all the information is enclosed there. So I'll seek a motion to authorize the issuance of a request for proposals for legal services. Do I have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
And is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any comments or questions on this item? Hearing none, I'll have Michelle record the vote. Oh, do I hear something? No, just feedback. I'll ask Michelle to record the vote.
Ashburn,
Yes.
Bolton,
Yes.
Gillette,
Yes.
Hubbard,
Yes.
Moines.
Yes.
All right. That being done moves us to our last item. Well, I guess before I do that, let me go back to the agenda here. We're possibly going to go into a closed session. I think what I'll do, if it's okay with everybody, we'll go through our information items as we usually do and allow Ted an opportunity to provide his update, and then we'll go into the closed session so that when we come back, we have no new business to discuss, if that makes sense to everybody.
Yes.
So with that being said, let's go through our board and committee reports. Planning committee. Andrea?
Yep, sorry, I'm
That's
unmuting
all right.
here. So like usual, many of our board members were attended that planning committee, but I think it's important to point out for the rest of those joining us and any public on this call, a discussion that we had regarding the long range plan. And the update made to it to kind of revisit it and see where we stand on upcoming needs and what needs to be added to projects that need to be added to that long range plan based on looking at additional operational data to see where we stand as far as need into the future, and how this is an important piece that relates not only to where we stand now, but as we continue to look at our regionalization efforts and how this long range plan and these projects relate to what things would look like as we continue to explore regionalization. I don't know if Joel or Ted have anything else to add to that.
Well said. Nothing to add.
Andrew, I think that was a good summary. It's not time to relax our schedule for expansion. If anything, it's time to accelerate it a little bit was the message, and we'll be moving forward.
Excellent. So moving to the Finance and Audit Committee, Joel.
Yes, we had a good discussion of the legal services review and the RFP, which we just approved for legal counsel, including some discussion about the desire to have respondents to that RFP provide some information about not just the firm, but which lawyer, which attorney we'll be specifically working with. And then we also entered a closed session to discuss our ongoing regionalization discussions.
Excellent. Customer Relations Committee meeting.
I think the majority of that was handled in closed session and we came out with no action.
I think that's fair to say. The Bill Stowe Memorial Committee, Andrea joined me and others just before this meeting at 2 o'clock today. We had kind of an organizational meeting, if you will, to pick up where we've had a couple of discussions and meetings, if you will, over the last year, but in earnest, restart that project. And so nothing was really decided today, but we had a representative from Country Landscapes. In addition to Andrea, the chair of the Park Foundation board was on, Amy Beatty and Liam Stowe were there, and Jen Terry joined us as well. And kind of the next steps, if you will, is over the next month, we're going to talk a little bit about fundraising. We're going to talk a little bit about the education component, which I think a lot of us are really excited about, that involves the Des Moines Waterworks Citizens Water Academy and plugging that into and possibly expanding that as time goes on. And Jen, this all kind of crosses a lot of the things that Jen has been working on since she has rejoined us when it comes to education. And so look for a report pretty soon about how the Stowe Memorial activities kind of fold into some things we're working on at the Botanical Garden when it comes to education, to what it folds into at the Science Center possibly, and obviously the ongoing efforts of the Park Foundation when it comes to an education component. So I was energized after today's meeting and excited to get back to the planning process on this. So I guess what I'm telling you is stay tuned. Andrea, is there anything that I forgot there that I should have mentioned?
I don't think so. I think that the Memorial Committee is going to just continue to pick up steam as we move forward. So looking forward to see what comes out of that.
And really what I guess just to recap, what I'm most excited about is the collaboration possibilities between, Des Moines Waterworks and our Citizens Water Academy and the Park Foundation and the Botanical Garden and the Science Center, and working on an educational component that focuses on water and the environment. I think a lot of good things that can come out of this. So that's exciting. The Greater Des Moines Botanical Garden, I sent you all today the bio on, or yesterday, I don't remember, the bio on Kim Perez, who is the new CEO of the Botanical Garden. She'll be joining in April. It's nice to have that process completed. The board was very pleased with the quality of the candidates that they received, and interestingly enough, chose a person with not a garden background necessarily. She has a not-for-profit background, and I think will bring an interesting administrative or a helpful administrative oversight to the garden. So I am sure shortly after she joins the garden officially, we'll have an opportunity to meet her, and I think you'll all like her. So with that being said, I'll throw it to Andrea for the Park Foundation.
Yeah, first I apologize. I'm getting my board committee partners mixed up. I should have asked Diane if she had anything to add to that planning committee meeting instead of Joel. Joel's my partner.
I didn't catch that.
Joel's my partner here at the Waterworks Park Foundation. As usual, the Park Foundation does a good job of providing an update to our board packet. Some things that I just want to point out quickly, though, is the Park Foundation board is really going through a renewal point right here. A lot of the past board members have term limited out. And so bringing in a lot of new fresh faces, which brings a lot of new fresh ideas and energy to the board, is where we're the phase that we're going through, and it's an exciting phase. To that end, also looking at how we transition from being a board that's focused on infrastructure fundraising to a board that's more about programming and education, and kind of connecting the mission of what the park is to be with the work that the foundation can do now moving forward. We're still trying to close out that the bills from the phase 1 development, and working with a outside consultant to close out that fundraising. But I'll let you guys review those notes and ask if Mike or Joel have any other pieces to add to that.
I'll just add that one point of discussion has been the outlook for summer concerts, and the city's current, I'm looking for the correct terminology, meeting the group size restrictions, event sizes. And so there'll need to be some adjustments to the event sizes that are allowed cut by summertime for the park to access some of those revenue streams. I think with the increased vaccinations, that's probably on its way, but we might, look to Waterworks staff or the board to make connections with the city council or others to discuss, the outlook for the event size restrictions and see which direction those are going.
Thank you.
Staff will be working with the foundation to bring some concepts to that point, Joel, here in early April. So that'll be a follow-through item.
Great.
One last piece I think I want to point out, and if Mike doesn't have anything else, is that with this strategic planning discussion, the idea that the Park Foundation is looking to more closely work with the utility in this next phase of education and programming. And Jen has been involved in some of those conversations about how we can be more collaborative in the goals and visions of the things that she's been working on and how to put those into practice with the Park Foundation and some of their visions and goals. So again, I don't know if Mike has anything else to add or if Jen wants to comment there too.
Mike, I'm going to, back to the Stowe Memorial Committee. I meant to copy you on the invite for today's meeting. Not that necessarily I need or want you to attend, but I'm gonna copy you on those future meeting invitations just to make sure that we have appropriate staff representation. Jen came today and I think will continue to come. Laura Sarcone has come and she's out of town and didn't come today. So I think those two will always come. But if you don't mind, Mike, I'll just copy you on that just to make sure that, you know, if you have an interest or you want to make sure the right staff member is there, especially when we're talking about, you know, a physical structure.
Very good.
Excellent. So staff updates, external affairs. I guess this is Jen, right?
This is Jen.
Thanks, Graham. And that was a nice segue, Andrea. Thank you. I just had two things today. There's not any outstanding legislative excitement to report, which is maybe good, maybe bad, but
Scary.
so the first thing I'll talk about is what we're calling uncommon collaboration or radical collaboration. So that was a nice segue from Andrea, but we're continuing to hold meetings and advance ideas for projects with people that might surprise you or groups that might surprise you. So one that I'm going to highlight today is an idea that has come to fruition with some interesting partners, and that's going to be Practical Farmers of Iowa and People's Land Management Company and Heartland Farmers Cooperative. And so we are putting together and launching a plan for a series of webinars in August and the first week of September. They're going to be Friday lunch and learns, and our targets are going to be what we are calling NOLs or non-operator landowners. So our outreach is going to be, and our audience will be people who likely live in the metro but own farm ground in our watersheds. And so Practical Farmers of Iowa is very excited. They're putting forth the idea that they'll build the platform and do the registration, and then all of us are going to promote it through all of our various channels. So that's exciting. We'll be reaching a new audience with that and explaining how what they do 200 miles away upstream affects the water that they drink here in the metro. So that's pretty cool. That's kind of exciting. The second one is, if you haven't already, please download the Instagram app and start following our new Instagram feed at #DSMH2O. 3 weeks ago, I think it was, we started our public relations campaign, Think Downstream Thursdays, and I don't know what the most recent count is, but I think we have over 240 followers already, which is great. You've probably seen we've done some educational things about water quality. We did a piece yesterday about International Water Day, which was really cool. Watch this Thursday's edition. It's going to be really cool. It's in honor of women in agriculture, and we're going to be featuring 7 or 8 women who work in agriculture but do extraordinary things that help water quality and land use practices. So that'll be fun. Unless anybody has any questions, that's it for my report today.
Jen, thank you. Ted?
Two quick things from me, Graham. As has become our custom, an update on the COVID situation. Not a lot to report there. We're still waiting for the possibility of having a vaccination clinic on site here. We've made some contacts based on some contacts Graham made for us, and we're in line and we're waiting. And as soon as the Iowa Department of Public Health allows water and wastewater workers who are currently in Category 1C to be vaccinated, we will have a vaccination clinic on site, or we may, I guess I should say. What we're finding is a lot of our employees are finding other ways to become vaccinated kind of ahead of the 1C priority. So we've had a number of folks based on different criteria that made them eligible get vaccinated, and that's great. So, but we're still working on that. Otherwise, not a lot to report on the COVID front. But the second thing I will share with the board today is we've talked a lot about the PFAS contamination that was found at the airport, at the guard base specifically, and our response to that, our suspicion that there might be some amount of impact. We've taken a number of rounds of samples. I think I reported to you that the last round of samples, because of an improvement in the sensitivity, we did find a very small amount of PFAS in our finished drinking water. We did get our second round of samples back here in the last week or two, and that confirmed the same finding, a very small amount of PFAS in our finished drinking water. Something less than 10% of the health advisory, but it appears to be repeatable and something that's there and something we're going to continue to watch and monitor. But we do think it's time to provide some amount of customer communication on that point. So we'll be doing that, and we will be following up with the Air Guard and the DNR, both of whom have been very cooperative and helpful in this process. Following up with our congressional delegation, trying to encourage funding for remedial investigations there, and keeping an eye on that so that it doesn't become a problem for us. So that's it for me, Graham.
Excellent, thank you. So that would includes all of the business items that we were going to conduct during this meeting. There is a proposed closed session that we would go in, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But to be clear, our goal here tonight is to go into closed session and talk about some items about regionalization. No decisions will be made. We'll only come back to this Zoom link at the conclusion of that to adjourn our meeting, but we expect to make no decisions when we come back out. All of our business has been conducted at this point. It's important to Des Moines Waterworks that when we go into a closed session that we state why we're doing so. And today we intend to talk about the methods of analysis of proposed transaction economics and alternative deal terms. So we're talking dollars and cents about regionalization, specifically when it comes to the potential of a transfer of assets that Des Moines Waterworks owns to a regional entity, and those negotiation strategies that we would use in doing so. So we're really down to kind of some nuts and bolts of negotiating, and we're going to go into closed session, or the closed session is proposed to talk about some of these things that would harm those negotiations if we did so in public. So with that being said, I am looking for a motion to hold a closed session under section 388.91 Code of Iowa to discuss marketing and pricing strategies and proprietary information that may impact our competitive position by public disclosure, not required of potential or actual competitors, related to ongoing negotiations over creating an integrated regional water authority. Each of these topics will be discussed in closed session to avoid disclosure likely to prejudice or disadvantage the position of Des Moines Waterworks. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. And Michelle, could you record that vote?
Ashburner,
Yes.
Bolton,
Yes.
Gillette,
Yes.
Hubbard,
Yes.
Moines.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. So that being said, we're going to go to a Microsoft Teams meeting now. So leave the Zoom meeting, and we'll see you in the Microsoft Teams meetings. And to remind anyone that's listening, we will only be coming back to the Zoom meeting to adjourn. We expect no business. Thanks, everybody. right, looks like we're all here. We've just come out of a closed session. This is the 23rd of March, Des Moines Waterworks Board of Trustees meeting. We have taken and are taking no action here. All I'm looking for is a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I
Second.
have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thanks all.
Good night.